The desire to rule for selfish gratification has been the curse of the world. For countless ages, kings and lords have drenched the earth with blood in their battles to extend their dominions, not to seek more life for all, but to get more power for themselves. Today, the main motive in the business and industrial world is the same. Men marshal their armies of dollars and lay waste the lives and hearts of millions in the same mad scramble for power over others. War is big business and very profitable. The cabal's agents are behind World War I and II and trying desperately to start a Middle East war that will lead to bigger conflict, possibly World War III. They are also behind every other conflict and staged planned events that you could possibly think of. Even the invasion of Tibet was for the purpose of destroying spiritual knowledge. Tibet has been isolated from religious infestation due to its geographical location in the treacherous Himalayan mountains, and is being closed to outsiders. The same methods used by the Inquisition are used by the communists upon those who are suspected or have been found guilty of any spiritual practices who have this knowledge. As shown earlier, it is not the Chinese, the Russians, the Cubans who are behind communism, but the Illuminati cabal. Iraq. There were many ancient temples and relics buried beneath the sands of Iraq that were proof of the origins of humanity. Whether they are still there given the invasion is unknown. American and British GIs were given the go-ahead from the top brass to destroy and/or loot whatever they pleased from the Iraqi museums. Saddam Hussein was also working on restoring the ancient Ashurbanipal library, which was the earliest known collected and catalogued library in the world. The texts therein originated before the flood. British archaeologists in the mid-19th century at Nineveh excavated some 25,000 cuneiform tablets assembled by King Ashurbanipal, which nearly all of them are now in the British Museum. The cabal power structure works relentlessly to destroy our civil rights and freedoms so they can enslave us all. Their greed knows no bounds. The USA is the last power on this earth that still has some laws protecting freedom of speech and the press. If the USA goes down, any smaller countries that are somewhat free will also go down and be under the yoke of cabal control. Short analysis on the present day, looking at both angles. Here lies the big question. Will there be World War III? Some claim there will be no World War III, but the very wealthy are about to be exposed for their trickery and treachery, including vast amounts of wealth based on commodity and cash that has no value. This will impact the 1% with trickle-down effects from their losses. But when the corporations and the associated elite lose control of the global banking syndicate, that is the loss of wealth that is being referred to, and not the rest of us. According to Professor Winston Shroot, the Federal Reserve Syndicate lost their banking charter on December 31, 2013. I have asked a dozen bank tellers to show me a $20 bill with a 2014 or later date on it, and after they flip through a stack of them, they do not exist. October the 20th is the doomsday, when all this is scheduled to go down. Will the Pentagon, through Obama, commence to deploy all that he has set up during the past 7 years, knowing that his opposition will be minimized during this time? Obama might just have a card to play in, leveling the playing field, and will upset the apple cart before he goes. The US dollar, currently with a street value of $1, though a real value of 4 cents, will be converted into a new currency, and many wealthy people will lose a great deal of wealth because the derivatives will be flatlined by this action. A shift in currency does not steal the wealth, but simply transfer it as long as it's real, and it will provide a new foundation, likely in gold and silver. Thus, the mad rush, which will further marginalize the games that bankers have played since 1971, when they forced Nixon at gunpoint to remove the gold standard in the US. There has been no real money since that time. The conversion will actually increase wealth for the 99%. How will this be done? Speculating that the USA, not the US, will be joining the BRICS coalition and turning its back on the Rothschild-Vatican cabal financially, politically, and legally, including the repeal of canon law statutes. The USA will be in a position to retake its national sovereignty or state-level sovereignty. The state-level control has been in play for a couple of years via the Constitutional Convention that, once convened, will have more authority than the federal government, including the power to dissolve the executive office, the IRS, the Federal Reserve, etc. USA foreign policy and military action are being controlled outside of the executive office through intelligence agencies, controlled via the Vatican and Switzerland, private corporations, the UN, and likely NATO, who literally pose as US soldiers, must be explained away by Obama rather than to admit he's not in control. Of course, we are speculating, as no one knows exactly how the story will end. The USA infrastructure is still very strong. What has been stolen is the creativity, human rights, production, and jobs, and nearly every dime paid in taxes and retirement funds. China promised President Obama in early 2009 that if he gets rid of the secret government, plus 3 other tasks, remove Fed Reserve, modify the IRS, and release all patents since 1900, according to the late Chris Story, they will kickstart the USA economy with $6 trillion. If the Rothschilds and the Zionists are the target, then there may actually be a chance of economic restructuring with their elimination. But it still comes down to who are the good guys, and what lengths will the bad guys go as a last-ditch attempt to keep control. World War III? No doubt, which will be total annihilation on both sides. Rumor has it the manufacturers included remote kill switches on all nukes. Yeah, right. Nuclear. Hope you have watched Holographic Disclosure 11. The real, immediate problem will be how do we survive the inevitable economic collapse that's overdue. If the transition from one economy to another model isn't pre-planned to be smooth, then we're in for a nightmare of the worst kind. The first stage of that is the collapse of commerce, Basically no food supplies being delivered. That's where the rioting begins, in the cities with too many mouths and no shops open. If the power grid also goes down as a consequence of that payment delivery problem, then we are doomed. Who gets to turn it back on? And lastly, Jade Helm. Alex Jones said that the activities will be carried out in states that agree to this. California would never agree. I suspect Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas also would not agree. Nobody has agreed to this according to every blog I have seen. The military, which again begs the question if it's federal or private, will be operating on federal land, if at all. The International Maritime Organization are testing public reaction and trying to justify real ground troops. But few people even believe the media anymore. Jones is right that the elite are making their move. But I maintain that the soldiers and police have families too. If forced to continue to act against their own people for reasons caused by those giving the commands, in a short time they will turn their guns on the commanders. The elite have nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. Researchers also know where all their underground facilities are located. Could they have their stargates and UFOs ready for a quick departure? Or are the 1% doomed? It all comes back to Rome, Israel and Switzerland taking the fall, but that's what the prophecies all point to. A new Jerusalem. Those who control us know the truth. They have for millennia, and it's their karma to bring about those biblical prophecies which were written by their ancestors. But there is no royal road to geometry, as Euclid said. Kings are not priests, and the priests were destroyed with the Druids when Rome came back to Britain as a charade to subdue the truths of nature, the goddess. The holographic disclosure series was put to rest. The subjects meant for disclosure 15 were added to the UnMasking series. However, holographic disclosure 17 was never produced. The reason is simple. Disclosure 17 was supposed to coincide with the release of a book called We the Scythians, written by a remarkable man named David Allen Ritchie. David did not want anyone in a position to pull the book off the market. Such was the case with author William Comyns Beaumont. His book was entitled Britain, Key to World History. All copies of Beaumont's book were removed from American library shelves back in the 1950s by Zionists, and only recently they came available again through a small publisher. We are living in a very exciting time when more and more of our hidden history is revealing itself, and this book contains a huge chunk of that puzzle. From decoding the pyramids to decoding the Bible, David takes you on a Pharaoh's journey like no other. Who were the Celts, the Jews, the Greeks, the Egyptians, the Scythians? Where did their stories originate? Here, at last, revealed just as Case predicted, is the incontrovertible proof that we have been taught not one, but many false histories over time for reasons of politics and power. His conclusions that Britain was the center of a highly advanced civilization destroyed by a celestial impact, though drawn from different sources and with much new supporting evidence, are reminiscent of the heretical ideas of William Comyns Beaumont, not only placing Atlantis, Egypt, and Jerusalem in the British Isles, but also drawing the inevitable religious conclusions. Once the shock to the intellect is overcome, this simple fact explains why the world is how it is today, and what we must do to survive the next more or less catastrophic cycle of events. The author encourages his readers to prove him wrong, as he provides measurement after measurement, unlocking the hidden code of the pyramids, and illustrates his point with well-referenced and hard-to-disprove research. Words deceive, but geography does not. Giza geometry is finally resolved. This rediscovery is about far more than a math principle and points to the place where the modern era of history began, Scotland. Historians neglected to analyze geodesy and gematria, both which were utilized to reveal the purpose of the pyramids. 20 years of research, built upon an intuition, rediscovered the vibrational patterns that Giza describes and the people who designed them. Once you find the zero meridian at Giza, you can measure everything, the entire world grid. This book is a game changer and has its conceptual feet planted firmly on Earth's terra firma. The secrets of Mount Lothian, and then at Rosslyn, Scottish Rite Freemasonry, and the true Temple of Solomon in the landscape. We are one of a privileged few who have had the opportunity to view and analyze the contents before it finally comes available to all. The book left us completely overwhelmed in the sheer volume of subjects and in the geometry, geography, and the painstaking attention to detail utilized by David Ritchie. The ancient mathematicians did not limit their understanding of the sphere to only measuring it to 360 degrees. They recognized it as a living, vibrating energy that could be seen in the Shalandi patterns that appear on the head of a vibrating drum that has been covered in sand. The author has kindly donated to us a limited number of books to give for our crowdfunding venture for the documentary The 6,000-Year-Old Health Secrets. The 6,000-Year-Old will be presented in 2 parts. Part 1 will cover health, and Part 2 will cover spirituality. No video production will come close to the subjects that we will cover, with an occult touch added. We are going to try and crowdfund this exciting new project so we can promote it to the world on DVD with subtitles in other languages. This will affect the hive mind in a positive direction and raise the conscious awareness of the planet. With an informative website that will go much further into the subjects covered. Joining us will be a trusted name in the occult world, along with healthcare professionals, to help make the project a winner. Unfortunately, we have to play down the trailer and some of the subjects covered, as we don't want anyone to sabotage the project. If you enjoyed Holographic Disclosure and the UnMasking series, we promise you that you will love the new series, and you will find the answers you are seeking. We hope that you can help and be part of this worthwhile project. Please watch the full trailer. www.6000yearoldhealthsecrets.com and take back your power. This game has a long history and folks behind it all with old knowledge of what this reality is. They're the ones we have to trust to do the right thing at this time, but whatever that is, I don't know. Is humanity the problem? Are we too many? We probably are. Can we survive what's coming without conflict? I very much doubt it. All we can do is live our lives and keep our ears to the ground and be ready for anything. So is the other half of the secret known? I sit alone at the portal, the gateway to heaven.